Hi, and welcome to the video on Introduction to Slope and Finding Slope of a Line from a Graph. Alright, before we start, let's talk about a few things. So let's talk about first, what is a linear equation? Well, I want you to look at this word, and the word linear has the word line in it. So a linear equation is any equation that when you plug in values for x and y is going to give you a straight line. So normally it'll happen looking like something like this. Y equals 3x plus 1. Right, so anytime you plug in a value for x, so let's say I plug in 1 for x, that means I'm going to get 4 for y. And if I plug in 2 for x, I'm going to get 7 for y. And if I were to plot that on a graph, I would end up getting a straight line. Okay, so remember, linear means it is a straight line. Okay, so the last thing is, what is slope? For our purposes right now, slope is really just the steepness of the line. Right, think of a ski slope. We're just wanting to know, is it going up, is it going down, is it steep, is it not steep? Okay, all right, so let's look at this first one. Basically what you do when you're just looking at what type of slope you have, you always start over here on the left-hand side, right, and you go from left to right like you're reading a book, and you look at the way the line goes, and this line is going in an upward direction. So that means that this is a positive slope, and it's increasing because it's going up. Okay, so start from the left and go from left to right and determine, am I going uphill or am I going downhill? You're going uphill, so it's positive and it's increasing. All right, so same thing, you're going to go left to right. So I'm going to start over here on the left, and I'm going to follow my line down. And it is going in a downward direction, so it is negative, and it is decreasing. Okay, because it's going in a downward direction. All right, so we have positive and negative. Let's talk about this line. Basically, I'm going on a horizontal line. Okay, think about it like if you are either walking down the hallway at school, there's no inclination. You're not going up or down, you're just going straight. So this actually means that there is no slope. Okay, because if it had an incline, it would be going up in a positive, and if it had a decline, it would be going down in a negative. So when it comes to where it's not going up or down, this is no slope or zero slope. Okay, no slope or zero slope. And this is horizontal. Okay. All right, now this one's a little bit different. This is a vertical line. Okay, and all vertical lines have a slope that is undefined. Because think about it, if you're walking along and you're going at a zero slope, right, and then as you're increasing, it goes up, right, and if you're decreasing, it goes down. But if you're on this vertical line right here, you're neither increasing or decreasing, you're doing both because it's going straight up and down. So a vertical line has an undefined slope. And we'll talk about that when we start thinking about the numerical version of it. Okay, so let's just remember that if you have got something going this way, it's positive. If it's going this way, it's negative. If it's horizontal, it's 0. And if it's vertical, it's undefined. Okay, now let's talk about finding the actual slope. Alright, so when you look at this graph, what you're going to do is you're going to pick any 2 points, okay, and you're going to figure out your rise over your run. Okay, and your rise is your change in y, and that's delta, hold on, Okay, rise over run, and your rise is your change in y, and your run is your change in x. Okay, that little delta sign means change. All right, so when you're looking at here, let's say we're going to start at point A and point B. All right, so we figure out if we're going to go from A to B, right, on a graph, you can only move up and down or left and right. You can't move in a diagonal direction. So you're going to go up 1 and over 2 to get to that point. And then when you go to C, you go up 1, over 2. From C to D, you go up 1, over 2. Same from D to E, up 1, over 2. So your rise, the amount you're going up, is 1, and your run, the amount you're running over, is 2. So that is the slope of this line. And also by looking at it, remember you start at the left and you go straight up. This has a positive slope, and this number is a positive number. So that slope is 1/2. All right, so now let's look at this one. Now, first of all, what we should have done in the last one is the first time when you look at it, remember you start at the left, you go straight down. Okay, you know that this is a negative slope, so I'm just go ahead and write negative here, just to remind us. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you are going to pick a point, and we are going to rise, and then we're going to run. So from B to A, you rise 2, and you go over 3. Now when you're rising, that's positive, and when you're running to the left, that's negative, right? So from A, you're going to go up 2, left 3, up 2, left 3. Remember, when you're going up, that's positive. When you're going left, that's negative. So we're going to find rise over run. Okay, so I rose 2, and I ran negative 3. Now, as long as one of these numbers is negative, you can change that to the slope is negative 2/3. And remember, we said that the slope had to be negative because it's going downward, so you know that you're correct, negative 2/3. All right, so here we have our horizontal line. Okay, and we already talked about horizontal should have a slope of 0. Right, let's talk about y. So if you go from A to B, you don't do any rising, right? There's no rising. All you're doing is running, running, running. So if we do rise over run, your rise is 0, and your run is 3. Any number that is divided into 0, 0 divided by any number is always equal to 0. So your slope is equal to 0 on any horizontal line. All right, and here we have our vertical line. So again, vertical. Remember we said vertical is undefined. I'm going to show you why. Because if you start at A, when you rise to B, you go up 3. But you don't do any running. So you rise 3, you don't run, so your run is 0. In math, dividing by 0 is a big no-no. You cannot divide by 0. So anytime you divide by 0, it is undefined. And if you try to put it into the calculator, it will say error. You cannot divide by 0. Okay, so this is just a basic review. Slope is equal to rise over run, which is the same thing as your change in y and your change of x. Okay? Anything that's going in an upward direction is positive, in a downward direction is negative, horizontal is 0, and vertical is undefined. All right, I hope this helps. You guys have a good night.